Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. As you can see here, we have a new balance of the Falmer cards, which we haven't actually yet shown off from Hazash's custom Dawnguard expansion. So, as you can see as well, not many people have seen the new balance cards, so you might not recognise a few if you already looked through this. But we're obviously going to go through them today, and we're just going to have a little bit of a review of them, I guess. So, as we've seen here, there's the slight update to the Nightfall mechanic, which is both lanes become shadow lanes until the night ends, which is the only thing really to add to what we've already read before. I've read it a few times already, so if you just want to pause it because you don't know how it works, or just watch to an older video where I've already explained it. But anyway, let's get on with the cards. So the first one we have is the Feral Falmer, which is a free cost for free with Summon Nightfall, and is a Falmer plus, I would assume, Vampire. Yes, always also Vampire. As I've mentioned before with cards like this, it's a simple Nightfall trigger just to kind of work and get your kind of synergizing plays off. All archetypes need something like this, so it's just useful to have a simple card. Very good stats for a free cost as well. Yeah, no, I like the card. Works for undead decks as well, as they've mentioned, because he's got the vampire tag and helps agility get some more synergy with it. We went over the Chorus Hunter last video because it was from the treasure hunt cards, but as you can see here, when drawing a Falmer, it will gain +1/+1, becoming a 6/4, and will buff up whatever you draw. You're going to now see the cards that make this a lot more viable and a lot more interesting. Right, next we have Eclipse, a 0-cost card, which is like the invade card, which just is a 0 cost and just doesn't invade. But here, obviously, you're giving a creature cover as well, because it makes both lanes the shadow lane with Nightfall, but that obviously doesn't mean that everything there just suddenly gets covered, like whoosh, very fancy. But this just allows you to kind of instantly make use of the kind of cover and both shadow lanes for the cards that have already been on the board. Anyway, there's not really too much I can say about this, but I like the card. I do like the artwork as well, because it's based off when you use Oriel's bow with the bloodshot arrows and just shoot the sun, and then it all gets eclipsed out and becomes dark. Next we have the Darkfall Hermit, which is one of the cards that has been changed about how it works. So some of you might have seen it. It's just summon gains cover if it's night 2/2, but we'll get over to the reasoning of why it's been changed in a second. But currently it's a 1-cost 1/1, which at the end of your turn, if it didn't attack, it gains cover, and then +1/+1, which is obviously a nice kind of slow buff to go up with, meaning that you can have him on the board and just kind of wait for your moments to strike with him and keep him getting cover again and again until the right moment to strike. As I mentioned, that the fact that night now causing both lanes to become the shadow lanes, it does make this kind of effect just a bit redundant for when you summon it, as it would mean that if it's night, it gains cover, but both lanes would be the shadow lane, meaning it would just, yeah, all work out identically. While now it's one which will slowly get stronger and stronger as time goes on, and adds a bit more kind of variation, as well as, you know, more Falmer cards from different kind of costs to work with the set. Anyway, we've had Wayshrine Prelate in a previous video. I don't know if you remember seeing it. If you want to have a quick read of it, I won't go over it again, but it's a nice card, very much cool, and about giving you a ward once your rune's been destroyed. I said I wouldn't read it, and now I've read it. Very good, cool. Moving on to the Betrayed Warmonger, a 4-cost 3/3, which when a friendly creature gains cover, it gains +1/+1 as well. This synergizes incredibly well with the Nightfall decks, because both lanes will become shadow lanes, meaning basically whenever you summon a creature, it will gain +1/+1, making this a bit like a slightly cheaper Divine Fervor, but obviously it is on the requirement that you have night up as a mechanic. So it's a very cool little body, and as I mentioned, it's meant to be one of these giving you a 4/4 body and play to the shadow lane. But yeah, it's a nice card. I do like this, and would very much work. And if you can get multiple of these out as well, it means that all your creatures are coming up are going to get these buffs, and that it's not like if Dismantle's used that the support goes and then all the buffs go, because, well, they've been manually added, meaning the creatures would have to be silenced. Right, next we have the Blood-Cursed Prophet, a 7-cost Falmer plus Vampire 5/5, and has cover and drain at night, which, yes. When summoned, it will deal 2 damage to your opponent and pilfer. It reveals the top card of your opponent's deck, and you get the ability to possibly discard it, which is very strong and is probably why he's a 7-cost, because having the ability to thin your opponent's deck out and destroy cards before they even get to the hand means that there's a lot of fancy stuff going on. So as I mentioned here, they've had a few change of redesigns, and apparently the text meant to be the other way around or something, but Hazash decided it'd be better to have this ability on Archcurate Verther instead of like Paladin Gelibor. And yeah, it's because he has the actual vampire tag, while Gelibor does not have the vampire tag because he's, well, not a vampire, so it makes more sense to make this one fit in a bit better with the Nightfall mechanic. Even if they both do involve it, just having this one lead into the more dark and vampiric side of things just make a bit more sense, doesn't it? As well as Drain, because, you know, vampires like to leech people, don't they? As I mentioned also, the effect does work quite well in power decks, and it's also, you know, a pilfer effect, so that kind of works really well with the grand heists and other stuff like that. In my head, I think it's a very, very nice card, and the fact that you get to possibly discard the top card of your opponent's deck is a very nice effect. I think personally the cover thing, I'm not too sure how well it's going to play with obviously both lanes becoming shadow lanes, so get cover when summoned anyway. If it always has cover, like it can attack and still have cover, then obviously that's when issues come spooky. Obviously, if it's then like it then becomes night while he's on the board, I can understand him gaining cover then. So if that's what the wording means, then yep, no, I can agree with that card completely. Anyway, finally we have Knight Paladin. When I say finally, is it actually finally? It is actually finally, yes. We have Knight Paladin Gelibor, a 5-cost 5/5, which when summoned will activate Nightfall, and your opponent can't target friendly creatures with cover, which is very, very strong. My one thing that I would say about this, because obviously, like as mentioned here, it means that they just can't directly target it with, like, say, a piercing javelin, but they can use area of effects, etc., etc. Yeah, Gelibor himself is exempt from the main effect. That's basically the thing that I think makes this balance. I was about to say, I needed to read this properly again, because in my head I missed that the first time. I guess if it was written as like your opponent can't target other friendly creatures with cover, that'd be a bit nicer, just so you can know that for sure. Because it just makes sure that people have this way where they can hit him with a piercing javelin and use him as like bait / kind of forcing their focus to go towards him before going to the other cards. Because yeah, as much as sometimes your cards won't have cover at all, it's just obviously it's a very nice effect to kind of drag your opponents over to something. A bit like Taviar. Taviar is at Raven. It's Taviar. And as we said, it did have its effect changed, but I think that was because we'll remove the second half of the effects and replace it with the Nightfall trigger. First effect doesn't affect Gelibor. Reason why is because yeah, it was made redundant due to how Night now gives both lanes the shadow lane now. But yeah, no, this is the set. I will put the link in the description. It's a very nice addition to the game. Some Falmer cards, obviously, very funky stuff, and more things for people to have a look at. But yep, that's the video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, like, subscribe, check out the set for yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.